All right, but before we talk with Paul Verhoeven about his story, The Green Man, do you know what, Philip?
Has this got something to do with more shorts or something? I don't know what, Dwayne.
We have to jump down the rabbit hole. Let's go. Yes, Philip, we are going down. We're going
Yeah, I
right
can
down into
see
the
we're
rabbit
going
hole.
down. I can tell.
And because this episode is a Second Doctor centric episode, I want to ask you about your relationship to the Second Doctor. I want to know, what was your first impressions of the Second Doctor as a young fan? Where did you first read him, hear him, or see him? And how has that love of the Second Doctor grown over the years?
Okay. Well, I would always say Second Doctor is my favourite Doctor. And he was my favourite Doctor from very early on. So when I first started watching Doctor Who was Tom Baker on repeat, then went to John Pertwee. But in no time whatsoever, we came up with the Three Doctors. And so my first experience of the Second Doctor was the Three Doctors. And I just loved Patrick Troughton. Like, he was so funny. And this Doctor, everything about him I loved. And it would have been a week or two after that I was in the local bookshop. And the first Target book I ever bought was The Web of Fear, which has Patrick Troughton on the cover. So I recognised him from the cover, bought the book, read it in an afternoon, read it again in the same afternoon. And so from then on, I've always called the Second Doctor my favourite Doctor. So yeah, I have a very long relationship with him. I got every book I could possibly get with him. And then, of course, started discovering it was hard to get the stories. But I do remember it was either 85 or 86, I think it was 85. We had some repeats, which was going back and showing the Mind Robber and the Crotons. And I demanded that my parents bought a VCR machine for those, because up until that stage, because we watched Doctor every night. But these Patrick Troughton shows, I thought they may not come back again. And we bought, the same day we bought the VCR machine, the first episode of the Mind Robber went on. And so I taped Mind Robber and Crotons, and they became my most watched videos, which I watched over and over again. I still have them. I actually chucked out recently I did a major chuck of all my VCRs, but I couldn't throw out the VCR with those two episodes because it was just too much to do it. And so, yeah, always, any time that Patrick Troughton comes up, I just adore him. And I started looking at everything he was in, got frightened to death watching The Omen. I was much too young to watch that. I don't know what my parents were thinking, allowing me to watch The Omen, but he was in that, and anything he was in, I'd start watching. So yeah, very, very, very affectionate towards Patrick Troughton, and really sad I never got a chance to meet him. What about you, Dwayne? What's your reaction to the Second Doctor?
Well, I'd like to say that he was my favourite Doctor, but William Hartnell was always my favourite for various reasons. But the more I look at the Second Doctor, the more I sort of, if I was to ever have to, we don't like ranking things. I know you don't like ranking things, but if I had to say who is the best Doctor, not your favourite necessarily, but who is the best, it could very well be the Second Doctor, and his as portrayed by Patrick Troughton, because of Patrick Troughton and his skill as an actor, what he had to do. And Colin Baker's always said that if it wasn't for Patrick Troughton, then we wouldn't still have Doctor Who. We would have always had black and white Doctor Who, at least the first Doctor. But if it wasn't for Patrick Troughton getting it through the rest of that decade, then we wouldn't have had anything after that. And as it was, it came close to being cancelled at the time. I can't recall what my first experience with the Second Doctor was, but it definitely would have been in a Target novel. It possibly, I seem to recall Doctor Who and the Cybermen, which was the Moonbase. So I think that may have been my first experience. I, like you, what grabbed me about the Second Doctor was, I think the three Doctors didn't leave such a great impression on me, but what left a huge impression on me was definitely the Mind Robber. I had no idea that black and white Doctor Who could be so utterly magical, and that first episode in particular, and with that cliffhanger, the TARDIS exploding, I was instantly hooked on the black and white era, even though there was nothing else really like it after I did get to explore it more. It was that episode in particular that was so minimal in many ways, but so powerful. Powerful performances from everybody, actually, in that episode. And it was an extra. It wasn't even meant to be part of the story, was it? That episode originally, it was an extra.
No, there was a short episode. I had to throw one in, right one short time.
Yeah, so probably the most powerful Second Doctor episode for me, being the first one, obviously, but it hooked me instantly. And then the Crotons, people pan the Crotons a little bit, but I still have a lot of affection for that story because that was the second Doctor story that I saw. And at that stage, I only had a beta cassette player. So I think the first two videos, Doctor Who videos I bought were the 5 Doctors, and the other one was the Seeds of Death. So it was the omnibus. Is that the word? Omnibus edition that had all the titles cut out of it. But I cannot tell you how many times I've seen the Seeds of Death. Recently I released a few chapters of the Target novel that I read. You can catch that on the YouTube channel and the podcast feed. So those characters from the Seeds of Death are so imprinted in my head from way back in the 80s when I got that beta version for the first time. So after that, I got to know some fans, and some of those copies that were going around from various fans, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth generation copies. I actually had a pretty good copy of the War Games, and I thought the War Games is a very important story in terms of Doctor Who history. And I still am amazed at how you can always, like, sometimes it's hard to sit through a 4-parter, but the 10-part War Games is something that I find very easy to sit through in one sitting. It's an amazing story. So there are a lot of amazing moments in the Second Doctor era that blow me away. And even still, I'm still being blown away. How long ago was it? Was it 10 years ago now that Enemy of the World came out? I was blown away by that. I thought that became my favourite Second Doctor story, because it was always the Mind Robber before that, but Enemy of the World just rock my socks. It was incredible to see that. And even more recently, I never really appreciated the Macra Terror until the animation came out. I think the Macra Terror is still my favourite animation. I don't know if you've seen that, Philip, or if you've got it and you're yet to see it. It is probably the best animation out there that sort of realises it does extra things, but I think I've heard it said by others that the animation could be better than the TV episodes ever could be.
No.
So they'd be, well, if you look at the animated Macra and then you look at the telesnaps that we've got, it would be nice to have those episodes back, but the colour animation, I just love it. So, yeah, I've got lots and lots of fondness, and not to mention everything that Big Finish has done. I looked, and there's only about between 50 and 58 releases, 50, 55, something like that, of Second Doctor stories on Big Finish. Probably a few more individual stories, because some of those would be parts of box sets. But I love everything they've done with Fraser Hines playing the Doctor, and now Michael Troughton playing the Doctor. So yeah, I'm very, very fond of the Second Doctor era.
Yeah, it's interesting because Doctor Who Magazine's been running the poll for trying to find the best Doctor Who stories, and they've done it differently this time in terms of the top 3 stories of each Doctor are going through into the final round for competition, and Patrick Troughton has managed to get 5 stories in. Because aside from the 3 in his own round, he's also got through the 3 Doctors and the 2 Doctors.
Right.
And I think the 5 Doctors too. So I think he may be in 6 times. So he's done very well for himself. Because and in terms of extraordinary actors, Patrick Troughton is just such a gifted, talented actor, and every role you see him in is just so different that he's recognisable because of how he looks, but in terms of the character he plays, he's just so talented.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's just a few little thoughts I wanted to get from you on the Second Doctor and your relationship to him. So we will scramble up.
By the way, I've got a signed print of the moon base behind me. Not sure whether you can see that with the glare. That one. No, maybe you can't see it.
There is a bit of glare there.
Yeah, sorry about that. But that's a signed print of the Target novel.
Okay. Very good. Excellent. All right, well, let's crawl up out of the rabbit hole. If you enjoyed what you heard in this clip from the Sirens of Audio podcast, be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell so you never miss out on another episode from us. And if you want to find out more about us, including our back catalogue of episodes, you can head over to sirensofaudio.com.